Are there too many coaches in the kitchen? We examine whether or not Drake Maye is being held back not by Jerod Mayo, but by his offensive coordinator. Plus, we look ahead to Sunday's preseason finale against the Washington Commanders. All of that and more here on Pat's Cast.
New season Pat's Cast, burning bright. Will Drake Maye win the QB fight? Rookie improved.
Welcome to Pat's Cast. I'm Brad Whitaker. If you need a VPN, visit expressvpn.com/PatsCast to get 3 months off of a 12-month annual plan. Again, that's expressvpn.com/PatsCast. And right now, what's going on in Foxborough is apparently a quarterback competition from everything that we've heard, at least from head coach Jerod Mayo and a little less so from offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt. But I think the question that I'm raising right now, and that many are raising in New England, is Jerod Mayo really in charge of the offense? He's referred to new offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt before as the head coach of the offense. And from everything we've seen so far, it looks like that's the case, that Alex Van Pelt is ultimately the guy who's in charge of who starts, who doesn't. He's the guy who's in charge of the development of Drake Maye. And he's a guy who seems to have his biases. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's worked with veteran Jacoby Brissett before in Cleveland and had some success with Brissett. Not against New England in the one game that I actually watched where Jacoby Brissett played against the Pats as a member of the Cleveland Browns. He was terrible that game. I think threw multiple interceptions. I think he threw a deep bomb interception on his first throw of the game. Jacoby Brissett didn't look that good, and he hasn't looked that great, at least over the last few weeks at training camp, although I'll say he's certainly bounced back over the last few practices. But from what we've seen, Drake Maye seems to be the better quarterback, and that's kind of been the case over the last 2 to 3 weeks of training camp. Yeah, Drake Maye struggled a little bit early. There's still a lot he has to learn, but he's taken care of a lot of his footwork and his mechanical issues, and he's overall been a better quarterback, not just in the preseason game that we saw last week against the Eagles, but in the recent practices, and he's working with less. He's taking most of the second team snaps, or he's taking all of the second team snaps, and only recently started taking some first team snaps, and even those snaps are very limited. For the most part, it's Jacoby Brissett out there taking 75% of the first team snaps behind center David Andrews, and then they sprinkle in a few at the end for Drake Maye, and then Maye stays on the field with the second team. And as far as we know, that is the plan for Sunday's preseason finale against the Washington Commanders. Jacoby Brissett is going to start. He's going to start with the first team, obviously. Everyone's going to go out there. Everyone's going to play. And then Drake Maye is going to come in like he did last week with the first team, probably play just the series, and then play well into the second quarter, maybe potentially the third quarter, with the second team unit. And if this really is a quarterback competition, the Patriots, yeah, they're giving lip service to it, but their actions haven't suggested it is a quarterback competition other than giving Drake Maye just a few snaps with the first team. And what I'm wondering is, if Drake Maye goes out on Sunday, plays lights out, throws 2 to 3 touchdown passes, and Jacoby Brissett struggles again, is that going to be enough for Maye to win the job? I think it should be. I think Maye should have the job right now, but that's just my opinion. But if Drake Maye vastly outperforms Jacoby Brissett once again in this preseason finale game, I mean, is that enough for the team to evaluate and say he should be our starter, even though he's barely taken any snaps from the first team offensive line at practice throughout all of training camp and really has only done it in the last week or so? I'm not sure. In fact, I don't think so. I think Alex Van Pelt has made up his mind, and he is backtracking a little bit on Jerod Mayo's comments from earlier in the week where he said, yeah, Brissett's our QB1 right now, but it is a quarterback competition, and Drake Maye could absolutely start week 1 against the Cincinnati Bengals. Well, Van Pelt, in his pressers this week, or it was yesterday, I believe, he said, he was asked about if Drake Maye can be the week 1 starter in Cincinnati, and he said, I'm sure, Mayo said it's an open competition. I'm sure there's a chance. So it doesn't sound like that's what Alex Van Pelt wants him to do. And he continued saying that Jacoby Brissett right now has the advantage because he understands the tools that you can use to get out of certain situations in this offense. And he added that Drake Maye is still learning that aspect of the game. And I don't doubt that there's certain things, especially pre-snap, reading defenses, where Jacoby Brissett is going to have the edge for quite some time over the rookie Drake Maye, who's still learning an NFL offense, and most importantly, how to read defenses. But, I mean, when it comes to extending plays and not being hampered by a bad offensive line and the athleticism and all the things that Drake Maye brings to the table, I still think he puts the team in the best position to win, because when the play breaks down, he's going to be able to do things that Jacoby Brissett cannot, even if pre-snap, he's not quite as efficient at getting the team in and out of the huddle or, reading defenses, calling audibles, changing routes, doing the things veteran quarterbacks do just based on their experience of being in the NFL for a number of years. But I don't know why you don't just put the guy out there. And the reason why is because he has accelerated his development so much in the last 2 weeks, where Jacoby Brissett has regressed quite a bit. And you have to also factor in what's going to happen to his development if he's not planning to be the starter, if he's not going out there week after week, being part of the game plan, taking the first team reps. Like, is he going to be part of the scout teams? Is he going to take first team reps, and Joe Milton and Bailey Zappi are going to be part of the scout teams? Like, that is going to hamper Drake Maye's development more than if you just put the guy out there. And yeah, maybe it's throwing him to the wolves, but again, you don't have to treat this with Mac Jones kid gloves, because he's a quarterback that spent his entire college career playing behind one of the worst offensive lines in all of college football. Like, this is nothing unusual for Drake Maye. He's not going to be deterred when he doesn't have the pass protection most NFL quarterbacks need to succeed. I think Drake Maye is going to be able to transcend that better than any of these rookie quarterbacks, because he's dealt with it a lot more. And look, I hear the arguments, right? Like, you want to sit a rookie quarterback behind a veteran, sit him for a year, have them be a sponge, and then come in year 2 or year 3 and take over, because it worked well for guys like Patrick Mahomes, it worked well for guys like Aaron Rodgers, it worked well for guys like Jordan Love. But the truth is, Patrick Mahomes learned behind Alex Smith for a year. Aaron Rodgers learned behind Brett Favre. Jordan Love learned behind Aaron Rodgers. Drake Maye is learning behind Jacoby Brissett. These are all, maybe not Alex Smith, but I just mentioned Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Jacoby Brissett is not going to the Hall of Fame. I think I saw a stat. He's thrown 51 touchdown passes in his entire career. Peyton Manning threw 55 in one season in Denver. Like, this is a veteran backup. That's what Jacoby Brissett is. And if you're expecting him to be a top 30 quarterback, which he might be, I think he's right around 30 to be honest, well, then you're not necessarily putting the team in the best position to win, because you have to think about the future franchise piece that you want to be a top 10, top 5 NFL quarterback, which Drake Maye certainly has the traits to be. And the areas where Drake Maye, we all expected him to struggle, were going through the progression, going through his reads, getting rid of the football quickly, being efficient in the pocket. And it took him some time to do that, but I mean, he's going through his reads faster than Mac Jones did as a rookie. And Mac Jones, I know we've written off as a bad quarterback at this point, but he was a very good rookie quarterback. Drake Maye can go through reads 1 through 4 in about 2 seconds, and he wasn't doing that like 2 months ago. Like, he's ready. Like, he's ready in the sense that you can put him on the field and you can be comfortable saying he's going to make mistakes, he's a rookie, there's things he still needs to learn, but he puts our team in the best position to win. But I think what's really going on here is Alex Van Pelt, he's worried about job security. He's worried about job security long term. He's been vying to be a real offensive coordinator for quite some time now. Yeah, I know he was the offensive coordinator in Cleveland, but he wasn't the one calling plays. That was Stefanski, their head coach. And now he finally has a lot of authority. He's referred to by Jerod Mayo as the head coach of the offense. He finally has play calling duties. And he doesn't want to be a one-and-done offensive coordinator like the last 2 OCs that came through New England, Bill O'Brien and Matt Patricia. And he knows that he is a much shorter leash than a guy like Jerod Mayo. If Jerod Mayo goes 0-17 his first season as the Patriots head coach, he's not going to lose his job, because Robert Kraft is going to say, look, we put him in a year earlier than we intended, and this is a developing team. Like, we'll give Jerod Mayo another year for him to prove it. Jerod Mayo has at least 2 years as the Patriots head coach to prove himself, whereas Alex Van Pelt doesn't really have that same excuse. But the excuse that he does have is, I've worked with Jacoby Brissett before. He's our bridge quarterback. If I put him out there and we only win 4 to 5 games, well, we know this is a developing team. We have a developing quarterback. We're going to be much better now that Drake Maye has sat on the bench for a year, and we can put him in as a starter for year 2. Whereas if he puts Drake Maye out there, they win 4 or 5 games with him, they're going to say, well, you bungled it with our rookie quarterback. We want to see what we can do with a different offensive coordinator. Maybe we want to bring Josh McDaniels back. This West Coast scheme isn't really working. Alex Van Pelt, you're out of here. So I think there are cynical reasons behind this, and there are biases with Alex Van Pelt. And I think Jerod Mayo, to be honest, and our knight in shining armor in Boston, Michael Felger, agrees with this, that Jerod Mayo wants him to be the starter, but he's given all the responsibility on the offense over to Alex Van Pelt because Jerod Mayo has never coached offense before. He never played offense before, and he has a lot to learn there, so he's delegating all of his duties to Alex Van Pelt and guys like T.C. McCartney, the quarterback coach, and the offensive line coach, and Ben McAdoo, who's there now. They're the ones that are really in charge of the offense, not necessarily Jerod Mayo, who's really just kind of looking at the offense big picture at this point. So who's really in charge of the offense? I think it's Alex Van Pelt, and I think Alex Van Pelt has a lot more trepidation about putting Drake Maye in there than Jerod Mayo, who really wants to prove that he's a good NFL head coach right off the bat. And I think Jerod Mayo wants to win games right away, because if this is a team that is contending for a playoff spot this year, even if they don't make the playoffs, Patriots fans are going to consider that a success. And I think Jerod Mayo knows Drake Maye puts him in the best position to win right now just because he can do so much more than Jacoby Brissett can, and that trumps the veteran experience that Brissett brings to the table. But Alex Van Pelt says, I'm a lot more comfortable. I've been in the league for a long time. I'm a lot more comfortable going with the veteran, and I have the excuse, if Drake Maye's not out there week 1, if we underperform this season, that, hey, this is a rebuilding phase, and we're heading into year 2 now. I deserve to keep my job. I think that's what's really going on here. But how does that change if we get to Sunday and Jacoby Brissett throws another red zone interception that would have been a pick 6 in a regular season game, and then Drake Maye looks far superior out there? Does Alex Van Pelt have the guts to say, okay, Drake Maye, you're going to be our starter, and you're going to be taking all the first-team reps, and Jacoby Brissett, welcome back to the backup role? I'm not sure he's willing to do it, but Sunday will be interesting to see how that plays out, and if Drake Maye, I think he's going to get a ton of reps like he did in the second preseason game. Wouldn't be surprised if we're in a scenario where he plays the second and most of the third quarter again, or you bring him in midway through the first quarter because you kind of know what you have with Jacoby Brissett. But Jacoby Brissett has a lot to prove now because of his struggles the last couple of weeks, so maybe they want to play him more to have a better evaluation and make that decision. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. Patriots, they've had a couple more practices since my last podcast. Been kind of low speed. They've been practicing in shells and really preparing for the Commanders as if it's a regular season game. Once again, on Friday's practice, Jacoby Brissett took the vast majority of the first-team reps. Drake Maye got a few first-team reps at the end and stayed in with the second team. Ended up getting a lot more reps overall, Drake Maye did. But Jacoby Brissett went 9 of 9 in practice with those first-team reps, while Drake Maye impressively also went 15 of 17. So both had a very good practice, and Bailey Zappi and Joe Milton are basically doing scout team work right now. Most of that is Bailey Zappi, which is kind of surprising because you're preparing for Washington, although I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to play on Sunday. I think if you want to replicate Jaden Daniels, you put Joe Milton out there on the scout team. But right now it's Zappi. It doesn't sound like Jaden Daniels is going to be out there. But right now it's basically Brissett is going to start Sunday. They're going to treat him as a starter unless something changes drastically based on his performance. With Vidarian Lowe out of the lineup, Patriots are sticking with this new offensive line, putting Caden Wallace out there or putting Layden Robinson out there. But on Friday's practice, Caden Wallace was back at the backup role. That said, Layden Robinson was out there at right guard, and Michael Wenu was over at right tackle, I believe. Let me double check that. I'm not sure if that's actually true. Let me just look at that real quick, because it was Michael Wenu at right tackle. So Patriots are still reshuffling, and I didn't think we'd see Owenu back on the far right side, but he's there again, and I think that makes a lot of sense because Sidy Sows had a very strong camp, even if he struggled a little bit last week. He's still been one of their better offensive linemen, aside from Michael Wenu and David Andrews. And Layden Robinson, their 4th-round pick at guard, has had a hell of a camp as well. And I think it makes sense to have both of those guys in the starting lineup, at least until Cole Strange is back and healthy sometime in 2029. And then Chuks Okorafor started at the left tackle spot, with Caden Wallace kind of rotating in and out of both tackle roles. But right now it looks like the starting O-line with Vidarian Lowe out is Chuks Okorafor at left tackle, Sidy Sow at left guard, David Andrews at center, Layden Robinson at right guard, and happy to see Michael Wenu back at the right tackle spot, even if he is a better right guard. I mean, just with all the holes at tackle that the Patriots have right now, you need to put your best offensive lineman over at that position. It's just so much more important. And I think Layden Robinson has done enough to prove that he belongs in the starting lineup, and that's what's happening this Sunday in the preseason game. We'll see if that moves into week 1 with the same lineup. Cuts are going to start happening early next week. There's still some battles for some of the depth spots for edge rushers, and with the wide receivers. I think Tyquan Thornton's going to start, at least initially early in the season. Had a pretty good camp, hasn't shown up in the actual games. That's kind of been the story of his career. Has struggled to stay healthy at times, but he's done enough, I think, to earn a starting role alongside Jalen Polk, the rookie that I think is clearly going to start. And, of course, Demario Douglas, their bread and butter slot receiver, with KJ Osborne, the veteran from Minnesota, coming in and getting some reps, kind of rotating with Tyquan Thornton and Demario Douglas a little bit. Javon Baker continues to struggle. He's had a rough 2 to 3 weeks now. Failed to make an impact at today's practice. Had no catches in team sessions. He's going to make the team just because of the talent, because of the development. He's not going to be a high volume receiver. He's a big splash, big play type of guy. So he'll make the team and he'll get reps. It's just going to be very limited, I think, in year 1. He looks kind of small out there. I think he needs to put on a little bit of weight, a little bit of muscle, and be a little bit more consistent with his catches, where he did struggle a little bit at Central Florida, at least in the first half of last season. And then he got his act together a bit more in the second half. But I think Javon Baker will make the team. So that final roster spot, I think Kayshon Boutte has done enough as well to make the team, just because you throw the ball to him, he catches it. Like, he makes some spectacular catches. And yeah, there's a lot he needs to improve on in terms of the route running, but the athleticism's there. The catch radius is there. He has the hands. He's had a good camp. And he's a guy Bill Belichick drafted just because he was a raw receiver, and he had a very good camp last year. He's had an even better camp in year 2. And then the other guy is Jalen Reagor, who I think will also make the roster as a receiver. Not sure he'll get a ton of receiving reps, even though he's been out in the starting lineup, I think just for seniority reasons in the preseason. But Jalen Reagor brings a ton to the table when it comes to special teams. You're not going to leave him off the roster, especially with the new kickoff format that the NFL has implemented. Jalen Reagor is really going to excel in that, alongside guys like Demario Douglas. And there's a lot of different things they can do back there. You could put Antonio Gibson. You could put Jaheim Bell, who's kind of like a large running back that plays tight end. Patriots can do a lot of experimenting on special teams. A lot of NFL teams are going to do, because this is a new format, and we're going to see how teams adapt to that. But Jalen Reagor is going to make the team just for that reason. But like I said, final evaluations are ongoing right now. Patriots are expected to make a decision about the quarterback role, who's going to be the number 1 guy, early next week, probably Monday or Tuesday, according to Jerod Mayo. Doesn't mean we'll hear Monday or Tuesday, but I bet we probably will. And Sunday night's game, probably the biggest preseason game in Patriots history. Like, it's a big game to determine the future of Drake Maye, the future of Jacoby Brissett, who assumed the starting role but is hanging on by a thread at this point. And like I said, I think Alex Van Pelt is the guy who is making that decision. A lot of Patriots fans, which I'm really surprised about, are really in favor of sitting Drake Maye for a year or at least half the season and having him learn. A lot of Patriots fans really want to tank. Like they want us to have a top 5 draft pick once again and then use that to take the best tackle in the draft or the best receiver or trade back and package multiple first round picks. Like that seems to be the consensus among Patriots fans. And I disagree there. I think you got to put the rookie out there and get him to learn on the fly. I think he's ready. I think he's developed a lot faster than we were expecting, despite all the reports that we were hearing 3 or 4 weeks ago. He looks good, and Sunday will be a real test for May. We'll be here to cover it at Pat's Cast late Sunday night after the game. It's going to be an NFL primetime game on NBC, kind of their dress rehearsal for the regular season. Really the only primetime game the Patriots have all season. Yeah, they have a Thursday night game, but I think that's about it. They're not slated for Sunday Night Football during the regular season. They're not going to be on Monday Night Football. Now, if they're contending for a playoff spot, they could be flexed into a late season primetime game, but as of right now, this is the only Sunday Night Football game the Patriots will be a part of with their main broadcast team. So we'll be here at Pat's Cast to cover it after Sunday night's game, very late. You're not going to want to miss it. If you like this video, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, or subscribe if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, and we'll see you on Sunday night.
New season Pat's Cast burning bright. Will Drake Maye win the QB fight? Rookie improving, set to fly, but Van Pelt hasn't grounded